Three, two, one, and we're live. Hello. Today I want to talk about a new app that I developed fairly recently, actually a few days ago, finished it, and I called it FreD. And FreD stands for Frequent Diner. This is an app for not for every type user, but it's an app for places like restaurants, cafes, bakeries, basically any places where either products or services are sold, and then it's important to retain the clients and customers and have them come back for more. So the way normally people used to do this, and some people still do it these days too, is they take the paper approach, where you take a piece of paper and, well, not a piece of paper, but like a card, like a punch card, and the usual deals are like, buy whatever, 10 bagels, you get 2 free, or buy 9 meals, you get 10 free, something like that. And the problem with that approach, even though it's an excellent idea, because the psychology of the thing is pretty self-explanatory, whereby if people have something and they know they can come back and get some kind of reward, or they get some kind of deal, people love deals. So for them, it's a wonderful thing to have. The problem with this approach, physically, in terms of how it's implemented, is that you have to put the card somewhere in your wallet usually, or in your pocket, and then of course you have to remember all these cards, because you go to different businesses, different restaurants, different bakeries, wherever you're going, which potentially offer all these punch cards, and so you have to stuff them all in your wallet, which becomes pretty thick. And then, like what happened to me one time is, you try to get the proper card out, and all of them just spill on the floor. Anyway, it's definitely not a very convenient thing for customers to use, even though the idea behind it of being able to have people record in some way the fact that they made a purchase, and then after X number of purchases get a reward, it's an excellent marketing idea. There's no question about that. And so with the advent of new technology, there have been a number of companies out there that started doing similar kind of things, where they essentially run a digital version of that concept, where you come in and you have to log in, you have to sign up as one of their members, and there's different programs work differently, but it's a little bit of a hassle to get signed up. And then of course you have to download their app, and sometimes it's available on your platform, sometimes it's not. Mostly nowadays they're available on both iOS and Android, so it's not an issue, but you do have to download an app. And if you're like me, downloading an app is not anything real complicated or time-consuming, but we all have limited memory, and we all have limited space on our phones in terms of icons and everything. You don't want to have 10,000 icons there, because you have all these different apps running around. So most of us try to avoid having too many apps, because they're hard to find after whatever the threshold is for you personally. And so that becomes a problem, where you just download, this restaurant has their app, and this other restaurant has their app, and this loyalty program has their app, and each one has to have its own login, and some of them use Google, some of them use Facebook, some of them use Yahoo. We're not using Yahoo anymore, but you know what I'm saying. It's definitely a little bit of a hassle, because they circle or center everything about them. It's all about them. And at the same time, they need to know who you are, so they can properly reward you and things like that. So as a designer, developer of software, I decided that I wanted to have something simpler. I don't want to deal with all this stuff. I don't want to deal with a ton of cards in my wallet. I don't want to deal with signing up with some kind of somebody's program, which then sends me all kinds of stuff and asks me a million questions potentially. I just don't want to deal with any of it. I want as simple as possible and still get the job done. And so that's why I developed FreD, and I just called it FreD because it's a combination of letters from the word frequent diner, to reward basically people who eat frequently at a restaurant, the punch card concept. But I wanted to make it so, number one, it's very simple to use, both for restaurants and for their customers. So that was definitely one of the criteria for developing it the way I did. Second thing was, I wanted to make sure it's mobile friendly and works on phones, because all of us carry phones. We don't carry our computers. For the most part, we carry our phones, and it's just much easier for everybody to deal with mobile devices. So that was the second criteria. Third criteria, I didn't want to have to download anything or install anything or be compatible with anything. I just wanted to make sure it works on anything and everything simply, quickly, and effectively. That was the game plan in terms of how I wanted to put it together. And so I did put it together, and I'm going to show you a demo in a few minutes here. But for right now, I just want to show you a little presentation I put together that kind of shows how it works, so you have an idea how the thing works. So I put a little Prezi presentation there, and just load it real quick. Okay, so let's move on here, and next slide here. So how do you use FreD? So FreD is, it's very simple to use, consists of two parts, and that's the main part of the whole application. Is just broken down to two segments or two parts, if you will. First part is generation of unique QR code for each customer, and so I'll show you how that works. And then the second part is accumulation of rewards by the customer by using their unique QR code, which they got from step one, with every single order, and then subsequently they get additional rewards when sufficient number of orders have been placed. So for example, if you have a restaurant that has a deal, buy 9 meals and then you get the 10th free, then the idea here would be that you just keep basically buying meals, and then the system is set up to keep track of everything and then reward you accordingly at whatever the place you're frequenting. So those are the two parts. The first part, the way it's set up, is it's really simple. We do need a little bit of information from the customer. So you get a standard QR code, or the customer gets, I should say. And there's a unique code for every single customer. And that QR code is also unique for that particular restaurant. So in case a customer goes to 2 different restaurants and they both use FreD, you cannot use the same code. It has to be unique code per restaurant. And at some point in the future, we may be able to consolidate it so you can actually use one everywhere. But the way it works right now, you basically get a separate code for each restaurant, and I think perhaps it's going to work like that in the future too. Once you get, you get a little QR code. This is what QR code looks like for those who don't know what QR codes are. QR code, which is something developed, a while ago. I think it was developed by Google actually initially. It is a way to really easily and quickly send people on their devices with a little QR scanning application, which is available for free at both App Store and Google Play Store, to send them to either a particular web page or to get them some text or even Wi-Fi setup. I mean, there's a bunch of different things you can do with these QR codes. So it kind of looks like this. Next thing that happens is by the way, this QR code is, don't bother scanning it. It's not going to send you anywhere you want to go. I just wanted to use something just as a sample. So the customer comes in with their phone. They scan a particular QR code in the restaurant itself, or on the restaurant website, either way, and they get usually within a few seconds, they get an email back with their code. But first, before they can get an email, the system asks them to enter a few pieces of information on their phone. So once they scan it, it asks them to enter their name and email, and if they want to specify their phone number as well. And so they must fill out the form, otherwise it's not going to work, because the business obviously wouldn't know where to send the QR code, the custom QR code. So once it's scanned, the form is filled out, email and phone and name. Phone entry is optional, and the reason we ask for that is pretty self-explanatory, but just in case you're wondering, we want to make sure we can communicate and personalize the emails to this customer. So that's why we're asking for their name. And also we ask for the email so we can actually send them, at least at this point, send them their personal QR code. Potentially, if the customer doesn't mind in the future, that opens up the door to be able to communicate with the customer in much more active or proactive, I should say, fashion, possibly send them additional deals, possibly invite them to special events. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do once you have somebody's email, and this is a fairly non-threatening way to ask for it. I mean, they know the reason why they're being asked. And then as long as you have it set up in a way where in the future you let them easily opt out in case they don't want to get emails about other offers and things like that, they can do that, then it's not a problem. So the idea here is think of it as an opt-in. In other words, if the customer that you're giving this offer to does not want to be bothered and does not want to disclose their email, then they can't participate in this particular app. I mean, they cannot get FreD and get the benefits, and that's totally fine. I mean, it's obviously their business. But if they do want to participate and do want to get the rewards, then yeah, they need to indicate their email address. Okay, so we ask for those two pieces of information, and then the process is pretty simple. Once the form is filled out, the customer will be emailed their own personal QR code within seconds. Then they present their personal QR code every time they come into the restaurant. The server then uses their phone, the server's phone, to scan the customer's code, and they also have to enter digit authorization code, and then they just simply hit submit, and everything else is done behind the scenes. The server then will be notified on their mobile device how many meals or how many purchases the customer has made so far, and if there's any kind of free meal or anything else, any kind of reward needs to be given, that the reward will be shown on their phone, and then they can take care of giving the customer discounts, so on and so forth. So the idea being that it's very fluid process whereby customer comes in, they show the code, the server scans the code, punches in the two-digit authorization code. The reason we got it set up with two-digit authorization code is to make sure that the staff, even though everybody wants to make sure, wants to think that their staff is totally faithful and stellar and trustworthy, sometimes that's not the case. So what you don't want to do is you don't want somebody, or even the customer basically, racking up freebies by simply running this particular part of the process over and over and over on their own. And the system is set up to prevent it from happening. So if they attempt to do it, it's definitely a hassle to try to get back and do this thing multiple times. Besides, everything is totally documented, so restaurant would know that something is going on that shouldn't be happening. So the authorization code is a way to make it, it's just too much hassle for somebody to keep to try to do that, to just get a free meal. And besides, if they keep accumulating these codes in the same day, it shows whether it's 5 purchases were made the same day by the same person, then obviously the business will know that this is a fraud situation, and they're not going to give you a reward. So it works pretty well like this, and that's basically the process. And like I said, the server at the end will be notified if they need to give the customer a freebie. That's essentially the process right there. And that's pretty much how FreD works. So let me stop this and go to the next thing I want to show you is, let me show you a screen here that, one second please, show you a screen from the phone. So you can see for like one of the restaurants that is using this or beginning to use this now. Like I said, I literally finished a couple of days ago. You can see, I guess I don't have it there yet. Okay, I will show it to you on the phone directly. So let's just go through the steps. So I have a link. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna click, hit the link on my phone here. Let's see if we can make this work. So there's my phone. I'm gonna click on the link, which is what they do is when they click on, they're not gonna click on anything, they're just gonna scan the QR code to get to exactly the same spot. So as you can see, the application itself, let me make it so you can see it. Right there. Application itself is branded, so it doesn't have anything to do with my company or anything like that. It just simply shows the restaurant's logo, whatever it might be, and then it's got this little form where you can see you're entering the email, address, name, and phone number optionally. So let me just go ahead and put it in right now here, and So I filled out the information. The customer just needs to do it one time, right there. And then I'm going to hit submit. And once I hit submit, it goes to the website for that particular customer and goes right into their web and shows their website. So the customers wind up getting additional benefit where once they sign up like this, they immediately go and visit the restaurant's website, which is also, from a marketing standpoint, it's a good thing to do for people you're trying to get into your website. So they fill out this information and immediately takes them to the website. Of course, if they want to get off, they can. But in the meantime, they go right to your website, which is kind of a useful little feature. And so it immediately clicked. I'm going to share my screen real quick here again, and it immediately, literally within a second, 2 seconds tops, you get an email that looks like this. Right there, and you can see it's got their logo, and it says, "Here's your Tapatio frequent diner code," and it shows the code itself, and it says, "Please show it to your waiter every time you're done dine at Tapatio to get rewards." So pretty straightforward, not too much stuff there, just the logo. It says this is your QR code, and that's it. So the customer then takes their phone, and so I'm going to go ahead and just switch back to me again, and you go to your app from the App Store or Google Play Store, in my case, and download the free QR scanner. I'm using a program called QR Scanner. That's the actual name of the program. And once you launch it, it looks, pretty simple. Just basically camera view, and it's got the box. And what you're trying to do is, position it over. Let me get this here, and then it kind of buzzes a little bit, and then once it buzzes, then immediately on the screen you get the results, which is, it says customer 31, it's got name of the person, it's got the logo of the restaurant, and it says verification code. So what happens now is if I hit submit without putting the verification code, then the thing will immediately come back and say invalid code, please try again. And so at that point I go back and I get the same interface to scan the code again. So we're trying to make it a little bit harder for the staff to make sure they don't screw this up, and make it so nobody does any kind of, like I said, fraudulent activity. I scan it again. Now I'm going to go ahead and put in the right. By the way, if you put in the wrong code, it also doesn't work. So I'm putting in the right code, and then when I click submit now, it comes back with this display. Let me see if I can get it for you. As you can see right there, it's got customer, and this is what the waiter sees. It's got the customer name, it's got the customer number, and then it says total orders, including this one, is 1, because it's my first order today, so it only shows that. And so if I go back and another customer comes in, let's say it's the same person came in next day, and we go ahead and we scan it again. So I scan it again, and then I punch in my code again, and click submit. And now, as you can see right there, let's see if I can get this so you can see it right there. It says see total orders has got 2, and the process continues. That's basically the process right there. It just continues the same way. And then I wanted to show you one more I have, before I did a different code, like a different customer, and I'll just scan that. And don't remember, I think I had them on 8 orders. Let's see what happens now. So this is a different code, and if I submit that, yeah, so now I got right there, it shows 8 right there, so it's got 8, and I'm going to go ahead and do 9. This particular deal is supposed to be buy 9 get 10 free. That's the idea. So let me just scan this one, and I can't get the focus. Come on, there we go. And so we got 9. I won't bother showing you. Trust me, it's 9. And then what I want to show you is, now that it's 9, I want to show you what happens on the 10th one. So they come in one more day, and then we scan it one more time. Okay, so this is 10th one. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my verification code, and something fell. a little camera, I guess. And so at this point, as you can see, display doesn't just show how many orders. What it shows is it shows free meal today also. So the waiter knows exactly when to not charge the customer because the system tells them right there on their phone or on their whatever their mobile device is that it's the 10th purchase, which means they get it for free. And then the system continues rolling along and it just keeps adding and adding and adding. And then of course, when it gets to 20, in this particular customer's case, or restaurant's case, you should say, it'll be um, it'll be another free meal, and 30 will be another free meal, and so on. You get the idea. I mean, it just counts automatically as many as there are, and it's all totally cataloged and everything stored in terms of details, when it happened, date, time, who the customer is. I mean, everything is completely documented in digitally, and so the restaurant doesn't need to worry about it, but they can get all this information through PCS by simply requesting it. For example, they can get a list of all the customers that signed up for this. They can get their email addresses if they want to do a mass email to them. They can, one of the things I was thinking that with some of my customers I'm going to do, including this one, is after, let's say, somebody buys whatever the number will be, let's say 50 orders, then they get some kind of special deal, or they get some kind of benefit because they reached 50 orders, and when they reach 100, maybe it's going to be something else. Different things like that. To also, because now that I actually have the counts of how many they've used, yes, they got those every 10 perks, but also if we see a customer who reached 100 orders, then perhaps something special will be done for the customer. Special email goes out. Maybe potentially you can do all kinds of things like some people do with badges, where you come up with your own badge for 10 orders, and then 50 orders, and then 100 orders, and then 250 orders, things like that. So you get these badges work out, and so all of this entices people to come back. All of this shows the customers that you care for them more than a guy on the street who gave you a hard time with your change and couldn't give a rip whether you come back or not. I mean, this is the difference in terms of using this kind of a system with your business and treating customers, engaging with customers in a meaningful and thoughtful manner like this. And yes, giving them the discounts for them being a loyal customer. I mean, it's a normal thing that a lot of businesses do from marketing standpoint because it works so well. Because I know that if I'm buying something at a restaurant, I'm buying a meal and I like it, if they treat me right, I'm going to come back. I mean, it's just a natural thing. And so this concept of them sending me something and letting me get a freebie pushes me to eat there more often because I want to get the freebie. I mean, just kind of like what Starbucks does with their rewards program, same kind of deal. Get so many points, and then you get a free drink or a meal or whatever it happens to be. And so you're always kind of looking at it. I mean, I myself, even though I know about marketing and I know about what people do in restaurants and other businesses, things like that, at the same time, I'm not, even though I understand how this works, I'm still not prone myself to not kind of falling a victim to it, if you will, like customers normally do. Because I also want to get deals, absolutely. So I do go to Starbucks specifically to see, I'm only whatever 15 points shy of getting a free drink, and then when I get a free drink, it's like, okay, should I get a grande or should I get that kind of deal? And I think all of us have this kind of childish desires. When we get something for free, we want to get something better, something bigger, possibly. Most of the time I still get my tall decaf cappuccino because that's what I can drink. But the thoughts are in the head about getting something else, maybe get a sandwich, things like that. So it's the same kind of thinking here, that you want to get close to the whatever the number is, so you can get your freebie. And then when you get your freebie, then you continue to do the same thing again. And so it winds up being a situation where you generate more business because of this kind of gentle nudge that automatically happens psychologically, pushing people to come back. Another thing you can do with this system, if you want, is you can encourage your customers to share this particular code, their own QR code, with their relatives, for example, or their family. So let's say you have a situation where you have a number of siblings and uncles and this and that, and these people go to the same restaurant once in a while too, but they don't really care about getting any freebies or discounts or anything else. Or maybe they do. It doesn't really matter if they do or they don't. But the idea being, if they use the same code as you have, meals are still accumulated. So if you have 5 people that all ate within, let's say, whatever, last 2 weeks at this restaurant, instead of your count being 1 because you only ate once there, your count is going to be now up to 5. And you got 9 people, then potentially you're going to be, eat one time, they eat, and then you get your freebie. So, it can work like that. So this kind of approach encourages people to be a little bit more creative. It's a little bit more like kind of almost gamification, like making it out of the game. And maybe you share it with your office staff, and you say, well, here's the code. Everybody goes out. Somebody's going to win free meal. May not be me, but somebody will. And the more somebody goes, the more chances they have of winning. So because the code is the same, and then somebody's going to give that number 10 spot, and they're going to get their free meal. So there's a bunch of benefits around this kind of approach, where it's kind of fun, interesting, simple. It's like, like I call it, painfully simple to do this, because got some there. There it is. Painfully simple to do this because all I have to do is I come in and I show this code that I have on my phone to the server, and that's all. That's basically the whole process. Initially, to sign up, all I do is I come in and I scan the code that the restaurant shows me, and then I enter my name, my email, and hit submit, and that's it. Essentially, that's all there is to it, to sign up. And then to use it, all I have to do is show whatever the email that comes back that shows it to me. I can use it. I can, like I said, send it to other people so they can use it too. So very, very simple to use. And the back end of it is something that I'm talking directly to restaurants. I'm not going to describe details of how the back end of it works because it's so simple on the front end. But there's obviously some programming on the back end that takes care of everything in terms of storing everything, knowing who and where, how, and so on and so forth. So the system is available now. FreD is available for deployment. In terms of actually doing the deployment, if you're interested in getting FreD for your business, literally within the same day, whenever you decide you want to do it, you can go ahead and get going with the whole system immediately, because it is very simple to set up. Just a few printed materials, very easy to put the same code on your website, so people can actually register and get their code directly from your website. Obviously, many people might be registering if it's on your website and they have nothing to do with your restaurant because your website is worldwide. It doesn't really matter, because if a code is being set up and then nobody is using it, nobody's using it. It's not like the business itself loses anything. It's no big deal. But every single use winds up going to, sets up an account, and then obviously they have to put in an email address to be able to even get the code. So if they put bogus email address, they're not getting anything. I mean, in today's world of hacking, as we know, we've seen, anything can be done. But for the most part, it's not worth for anybody to mess with this. Let's put it this way, in terms of how it works. So if you're interested, jump into the Google space for that particular, for this particular Hangout, or this particular application, I should say, for FreD, and you can get the. Let me pull up on the screen here the space and show you what it looks like. And while you're looking at it, so you can see on the space itself, I have the presentation I showed you about how it works. There's a form that you can fill out to sign up. There's no obligation at all to sign up. And then we can talk and see what would work for you. I have a couple of different plans in terms of the cost, just since we haven't talked about that yet. The cost per month right now is introductory offer is $25 a month per restaurant. So it doesn't matter how many people come in, how many people use it. It's a flat fee of $25, which is close to about half of what most other people charge. So that's the intro offer. And also, for those who are interested, I also am willing to entertain the concept of simply selling the app to you, which winds up being equivalent of about, let's see, yeah, in about a year, let's say, put it this way, about a year and a half worth of regular payments, it becomes yours. So you just get it, and then you never have to pay for it after initially buying it. So that's another option. You can do that as well. But it's pretty affordable. Anybody in your restaurant basically should be able to afford something like that. And so then I have the actual the same video of what we're talking about now, so it's there too in case you want to watch it again. And also, there's going to be a private Q&A video conference if anybody has any questions, which I will conduct right after this is over in a few minutes here. And you can jump in there anytime. We can talk using the same URL as well. And then for people who were trying to set it up before to add it to their calendar, that's that. And then a little promo I did. So that's basically it. So if you have any questions, you can certainly put them in the Google Space. If you want to know how to get to Google Space, let me pull up the URL. Actually, let me see, the URL is right there. So let me see if I can make it bigger. I can. Let me bring it up. Okay, this is big enough here. So we've got this link right here. So it's just https://go.gl/spaces, and then this is the number. It's kind of I'm just going to leave it there for a minute while I'm finished talking, and so you can copy that, or you can get it directly. You can get it by looking at my profiles, both PCS and my personal profile, Oleg Moskalansky, and you can see there's a bunch of posts I did about this particular event. So over there, there's a link directly to that space. You can go from there as well. And so essentially, this is it. This is all there is about FreD. And if you're interested, by all means, fill out the form, and I'll get back in touch with you. If you want to set it up quickly, we can do that. If you want to set it up later, we can do that. Whatever works for you, we can make it work on our end too. And so with that, I'd like to thank you for watching this. Again, you can feel free to contact me directly from on either Google Plus at my Productive Computer Systems profile or Oleg Moskalinsky profile. And I'll be happy to answer any questions, both in the private video conference in a minute here or at any point in time in the future online. I thank you.